Hi, I'm Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings.
I'm your co-host, Ben Dickerson.
We're going to talk about the NFL Week 3, 2019. The games, just kind of go over the games real quick. I produced the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and last week we were 10 for 16 on the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. But Mr. Dickerson,
I was 11 for 16.
You were slightly better. And the turning point was, well, we'll talk about which game that was in a minute, okay? Let's just start the rundown real quick. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee came out 20 to 7 on that. Now look, I'm sorry, I said Tennessee. Jacksonville won 20 to 7. The passing leader was Mariota with 304 yards, right? Fournette had 66, receiving leader Adam Humphries at 93, but yet Jacksonville played so much better.
Yeah, well, Jacksonville played better because Leonard Fournette did just enough on the ground, and although Mariota threw for 304 yards, a lot of that was in garbage time and come from behind time.
Jacksonville has a new quarterback.
Yeah, Mr. Minshew, Mr. Porn Stash. He's pretty good.
You know, you got to like him. And I want to say something real quick that I'm starting to see as a theme, and I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not saying it's a fact. It just seems like an observation. There's so much that goes into our superstar quarterbacks. But we're seeing guys coming in for those superstar quarterbacks and having a measure of success.
Yes.
Which is to say that those quarterbacks who are better, for lack of a better term, point guards, they might not be the Michael Jordan of the game.
I got you.
But they're really good point guards are having, I think, a really positive impact and showing that there's a way to play this game. You don't have to be the fastest, the super duper athlete. We like to go crazy over those guys. That was one of the things about Mariota. He was such an athletic guy. But then you have a guy like Minshew come in and just be that much more efficient.
Well, I really am not going to say anything bad about Mariota right now, besides the fact that he will probably lose his starting job coming up this week, if not soon after.
All right, that's a fantasy. Keep in mind, I guess, right, for you fantasy guys. I'm not the fantasy guy. What can I tell you? All right, Cincinnati at Buffalo. Buffalo 21, Cincinnati 17. Again, the passing leader is the losing team with Dalton at 249. Frank Gore, 49ers. Still hanging in there.
For Buffalo Bills, man.
76 yards as a rushing leader. Auden Tate, 88. Once you're a Niner, you're always a Niner. God. In any event, though, again, there's your Buffalo.
Okay, so I've been loving Buffalo's defense for the last couple of weeks. It's a solid defense against the run and the pass. Not spectacular in any case, but very solid. Frank Gore was a good fantasy pickup last week because the Cincinnati Bengals have no way of stopping the run. And even though Frank Gore only averages about 2-3 yards per carry, he gets a lot of volume. And the other kid, the rookie Singletary, was out with a hamstring. So they really didn't have anybody else to give the ball to but Frank Gore. I don't know how many carries he had, but that big 76 yards he grounded out helped them a lot.
Yeah, at least one or two nice little 15-yard runs, stuff like that.
Yeah, he's going to get them every once in a while, What is he, like 56 years old?
It's like 15th, 16th year in the league.
It's crazy.
Man, it's funny because remember we were talking about the concussions, and I was saying that there was some study that said it's not just one big hit.
No, it's accumulation.
Can you imagine 15 years of running back in the NFL? I mean, it's mind-boggling that somebody can play that long. All right. Miami at Dallas. Well, okay. Dak Prescott, 246. Ezekiel Elliott, 125. Amari Cooper, 88. It looks like all Cowboys.
Total domination.
Didn't look like that much in the first half. Cowboys looked a little – they got a little cute, I think. think they kind of came in and like kind of underestimated or played down to it, the guys, and then they realized, okay, we can't do this.
Well, now I wouldn't mix getting cute with playing down.
Okay. What would you?
Both of those things. Both of those things probably happened.
Mm-hmm.
But playing down to your opponent kind of happens from time to time. The getting cute thing, I think, is stemming from the coaches and the coordinators, and they're picking and choosing their times when they feel like they can try some things. It may not be the most opportune time in this particular game, but for whatever reason, they feel like they can do it. Anything Dallas felt like doing in a game against the Miami Dolphins, they probably felt like they could do it. So there's your playing around portion. Playing down to the competition, it just kind of happens. It just happens at every level, from Little League up.
Denver and Green Bay. Green Bay 27, Denver 16. Aaron Rodgers 235. There's your man Philip Lindsay and Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Yes, MVP.
You like that guy? You've been talking
yes,
about
I
him.
like him. He's just coming into his own. He has solidified himself as the number 2 receiver behind Devontae Adams, which is great. I kind of figured that. Aaron only threw for 235. That's not a big day for him. But again, that defense. He spoke of the Packer defense in the very first game of the season. He gave them all the props in the world. And it's true. They're a solid unit, right up there with the Bills, and that defense is going to take them a long way. Their offense is kind of moving along a little slow. It's not as sharp as it should be, but it's getting there.
Basically, he said that.
Yep.
Fundamentally.
That's it. That's where they're at right now.
Atlanta at Indianapolis. Indianapolis 27, Atlanta 24. Jacoby Brissett with the 300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Freeman was the high rusher. Julio Jones, high receiver. Winner. Indianapolis again. That second-string quarterback who can come in and play point guard. Now, he's a little athletic himself. Jacoby ain't no joke. But again, he's a Patriot. A guy with that Patriot roots, that Patriot training. Somebody put out on Instagram a graphic showing the quarterbacks who came out of the Patriot. Brady, my quarterback with the Niners, Garoppolo,
Mm-hmm.
and Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, their ratings, they're like leading the league or something like that. Like they're really high, doing great, bottom line, those quarterbacks who came out of that system. So, that's a pretty good thing right there. That's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, I love Jacoby. He's a very efficient passer, probably more efficient than people knew, simply because he just hasn't, he's playing behind Andrew Luck. But if you watched preseason and you watched some games last season when Luck was out, he showed, even though they kind of held him back a little bit, but there's no reason to hold him back now. So you're going to see a lot more from Jacoby Brissett. That was a pretty high scoring, pretty active game offensively as we expected it. For him to outduel Matt Ryan says a lot, though. Mm. So fantasy nugget, Jacoby Brissett might be your guy.
All right. Baltimore and Kansas City. Kansas City 33, Baltimore 28. Mahomes 374. Mark Ingram 103. Now, how is it? Mecole Hardman?
Mecole, yes.
Hardman 97 yards, leading receiver. So this was my intriguing game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at the talent and saw what Lamar Jackson has done passing wise.
Mm-hmm.
Just looked like he had taken that next step as a passer, and I was really looking forward to seeing them come in and run their offense. And I watched that game, and it just seemed to me early on that the coach exhibited fear, that he came out of his game because he was so afraid that they were not going to be able to stick with the Kansas City Chiefs and score with those guys. So he's going for it on fourth down. He's not taking field goals when they're right there.
He did this how many times?
2-3 times.
2 or 3 times he was in field goal range and went for it on fourth down?
2 or 3 times he went for it on fourth down.
Really?
He didn't go for the easy points.
Okay.
I mean, that extra point is an easy point. You score 6 points.
Oh, you say he went for 2.
Yeah, right.
That's their thing.
No, it's not their thing.
What do you mean it's not their thing? That's what they did last year. They went for 2 points a lot.
They
asked him about that after the game, and he said
they weren't going for 2
I don't care if the analytics tell me something else. When we feel like we want to go for 2, we're going to go for it. It came out of his mouth. He said it.
Last year.
This year. I just watched it last week. He said it in the interview last week.
I don't think he hadn't been going for 2 this season in the first 2 games. When they were beating up on Miami, he wasn't going for 2.
Okay.
Did he?
I don't remember, so I'm not going to say.
Okay. So my point
if I look back, I'll probably find something.
My point is that their machine. I thought their machine was running, and their machine needs to run through Ingram. Ingram's an angry runner. Ingram can get you 150 yards if you feed him, and it's going to do 2 things. Number one is it's going to condition your defense to have to stay aware of that, and it's going to open everything up, and it's going to keep Lamar Jackson from getting hurt, because running him around too much he's not going to make it through the season, even if he is as super as he is, because it's unnecessary. And I think he messed up the karma of the team. When you can just kick the extra point, get that done, boom, boom, you're in that game. There was nothing that they couldn't do. The only reason they looked as good after he started screwing things up is because Lamar was throwing prayers from one side of the field to the other. And
that didn't make him look good.
Well, and when you look at the final score.
That didn't have nothing to do with the final score. Want me to set y'all straight on this game?
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you what happened, okay? They used Mark Ingram. He had 103 yards rushing. She probably could have had more if they were in 2 or 3 or 4 situations where they could have kicked field goals, but they went for it anyway. It's possible that if they had given him the ball and maybe didn't try to throw it, that they might have gotten those first downs and probably went on and scored. He scored 3 touchdowns. How many touchdowns Lamar threw for? None. That's why they lost the game. Lamar Jackson that we saw,
why they lost the game?
Because Lamar Jackson reverted back to 2018 Lamar Jackson with the way he threw the ball. The Lamar Jackson that we saw game 1 and game 2 that we were praising for this new, and I'm going to keep on doing it every time I talk about Baltimore, this new offense that they came up with for him, okay? And the way he was throwing the ball in tight windows, throwing the long ball accurately, and all that other stuff was out the freaking window itself in that game. If anybody caused them to lose, and I'm not putting on Lamar all by himself because I don't know that the play calling was as good as it could have been, okay? But he had a poor game throwing the ball, a poor game throwing the ball.
Your reasons why, my reasons why might be different, but we're moving on to Oakland, who came into Minnesota, and Derek Carr at 242, Dalvin Cook 110, looking great. Darren Walker, top receiver 134, Minnesota 34, Oakland 14.
Okay, so as we've seen before in a couple of the games above that game, the quarterback with the most yardage is the quarterback on the losing team. You're going to find that a lot in the games that's being dominated, especially on the ground, by the winning team. So you can't put too much into Derek Carr throwing for 242.
It's like a trend, don't it?
Which is, 242 is nothing to really get real happy about anyway, especially when you're playing a team like Minnesota and you need to be able to rack up yardage and touchdowns through the air in order to beat them. Okay, right now it's still the Dalvin Cook show 3 weeks in a row.
He's killing. He's killing. They needed the Raiders needed a little more Josh maybe. How's he doing? Rookie running back for the Raiders.
He's doing okay.
Doing okay.
He's doing okay.
You got him on any of your fantasy?
Nah, I don't have him on any of my fantasy teams. He's okay.
New York Jets at the Patriots. Brady with 306. Burkhead 47 yards rushing. Josh Gordon 83 yards passing. It's all Patriots all day.
Yeah, nothing really to talk about there. Glad to see Josh getting back in the groove again. I think he hurt his knee a little bit, but I don't think it's going to keep him out this week. Getting rid of AB probably brightened up his day quite a bit.
I'm sure. All right, so we have the Carolina Panthers visiting the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals were actually net point favorites in that game, as I remember.
They were?
Yeah, they were net point favorites.
They were.
Yeah.
Yep, by 7, bias plus.
Right, exactly.
And
And
fooled me too.
Kyle Allen. 261. Christian McCaffrey. Christian had the serious breakaway. Did you see him?
You know what they call him now?
What?
Little Sweet.
Like
The Dr. Pepper commercial, dude. It's the sweet one.
why would they do that?
I don't know. Because he's small, but
He ain't that
he
smart.
got sweet feet.
No, let me tell you.
Kid is nice.
Nobody could catch him. Greg Olson, receiver, 75 yards, tight end, leading all receivers.
Yeah.
But again, Kyle Allen, coming off the bench, superstar quarterback, doesn't have to be the great superstar, but he's a really decent point guard. And that offense looks to be operating way better.
Right.
What you gonna do, man?
So we always talked about your backup quarterback needing to be a similar type of quarterback as your starter. At least similar. Now,
Assuming
I don't look.
assuming
No.
you have
I'm
a
not
strong
gonna.
system.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not going to say this guy is the greatest, looking Cam Newton guy.
Clone.
Right.
Not even.
But part of the process of determining quarterback strengths and weaknesses when you're going into the draft is smarts, the system the guys came from, and of course, you want them to be able to make every throw. They always talk about arm strength and this and that and the other, but velocity, although it's nice to have, isn't always the end all and be all.
Overused. We
Yes.
experienced that in our playing days. We had Mr. Broken Barrel.
Right.
When that
You could throw the ball
coming
for a
at you
brick
like
wall.
a jet.
Right. And then
and you're only 5 yards from him.
Right. So again, these guys are proving themselves. Mason Randolph with the Steelers, Kyle Allen with the Panthers, Minshew. These guys are proving that they have the physical abilities to get the job done. It doesn't necessarily have to be speed or usually it's pocket presence, the ability to actually learn the offense and master it in your mind, and the ability to make every throw. If you can do that, you can open up any offense and work in it. And that's what these guys have been able to do.
Let's see. What's next?
Detroit, Philadelphia.
Detroit at Philadelphia. Well, again, the team with the quarterback with the most yards, Carson Wentz, on the losing side. Miles Sanders, leading rusher, losing side. Marvin Jones Jr., is he on your fantasy?
No.
101.
No.
Leading receiver. Detroit comes out on top, 27-24. And Philly is in a tizzy. They don't know what to do with themselves.
This one's easy. They shot themselves in the foot with fumbles and drop passes, and I believe Detroit ran back a kick on them. That's
Did he? The dude was doing like they were
disaster.
clocking him like he's a car, like he's going 20-something
miles an hour. Yep. Yeah,
he was out. He was
you
out.
can't play like that at home. You can't play like that at home.
Well, again, the starting receivers pretty much not there.
Right.
There was a few weird things that happened. One of the weird things that showed up, and is a video that's gone viral, is a video where Carson's dropping back to throw the ball, and it looks like his line just absolutely stopped blocking. Like they were literally standing around off to like the left when he's over here on the right. Nobody was running over here to block for him. Nobody was, they were, it's the strangest thing that I've seen. I don't know what happened.
It looks like the whole offensive line, if you're the quarterback and so you're looking at the offensive line's back, it looks like they kind of had like a moving pocket kind of thing, and they all kind of slid left. And then the entire defensive front of the Lions slid the other way and came in and sacked him. It was incredible. I don't know where they thought they went.
Well, I know he wasn't where they were. Wentz wasn't where they were. Maybe it was like
that might have been a bad read on his part.
You know,
because if he had rolled that way,
facing each other, he said, "Yeah, let's go to the left. My left is this way." And
yeah, exactly. That's what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like. So obviously, the moving pocket was not called, but because he didn't get over there where they were, he pretty much just sacrificed himself.
All right, so wait a minute. Did we go backwards here or did I skip?
No, you skipped Philadelphia. So now we can go forward.
Now we can go forward to the New York Giants at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jameis Wilson leading. This is absolutely amazing that the leading passer is on the losing team.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald Jones, 80 yards rushing. Mike Evans, beastly.
Mike Evans had one hell of a game.
He's beastly, man. I mean, he's big. He could be a tight end if he wasn't so slim.
Good.
Just a couple more pounds
of
girth. He could be a tight end.
No doubt.
For sure. He's beastly. 32-31, the New York Giants. And let's face it, Mr. Jones looked really good, but they were one really wacky field goal miss away from losing that game.
Yeah.
The football guys came out and shined on you. And did you hear what happened?
Yeah, he took a delayed game on purpose.
Took a delay. And why did he
didn't
do
take it on purpose? What was his explanation for taking it on purpose? To move the guy back some?
No, he wanted to move him to the middle. What's wrong with that?
Wait a minute. So they sat the ball on the hash mark?
Initially.
Okay, because that's the play before.
Right.
They ended up on that side of the field.
Right.
Okay. So you take a delay of game.
Right.
Why would they not just move it straight back? Why would they allow you to move it to the middle?
You're asking me to give you an explanation of why they do what they do.
So you don't know either.
I don't know why.
I have no clue.
I just know they did it.
Now, is that what the head coach said? Is that what he said?
He said that. Yeah. Now he also apparently.
Then why did he in his
wait? I'm gonna say he also apparently changed his story somewhere between the end of the game and later on when different interviews.
Yeah.
But I didn't see all of that. I did see where he said he wanted to be in the middle of the field.
Was that in his post-game press conference, or was that on the field?
This was later, like after the post-game, where I think they were still.
Because in the post-game, he said, because I wanted to, and then he said something about he's better from further back. I thought maybe perhaps
there's a question
because
of
the ball
angle.
Was on the hash mark that if they moved it back 5 yards, that he could easier take advantage of the angle.
Either way,
that kind of made
he
sense
was well within normal field goal range. That was not
an
an extraordinary field goal.
Exactly. So there is no excuse. There is no I'm trying to move it to the ball.
No. I'm saying I don't have a problem with what he did, what the coach did, moving him to the middle. You run plays.
That's
you
what
run plays.
This is what that shows.
No, if you're running, if you're setting your kicker up for a field goal, and it's third down, you're going to run this third down play. The clock's going to go down to 1 second. You're going to call timeout and set your field goal kicker up for a field goal. Then you run your play to the middle of the field to position him.
Exactly.
So he did the same thing by taking the penalty. So I don't have a problem with what he did.
It's not exactly the same.
Yes, he moved him to the middle of the field. And they were so close that the distance really should have been not a big deal. Should not have been something that made that big of a difference.
I agree.
So he put him in good position to make the field goal.
And
He missed it.
he missed.
That's what made it strange, you know. But congratulations on that win. You know, you got something coming up. We'll talk about that in the matchup show. Houston at the Chargers. Deshaun Watson. Now here we have a situation where the leading quarterback won the game with 351 yards passing. Austin Eckler, only 36 yards rushing. Okay, not a big rushing game. Keenan Allen at 183, leading receiver. Houston does what it does, and they beat the Chargers.
What that tells you is Deshaun is still the man. If there's anything at all they can do about shoring up that offensive line for him, that's the only thing that's going to keep them from scratching and clawing to have to make the playoffs and going out in the first round. They got to protect him better. He is on the verge of being great. He is really on the verge of being great.
The weird part about that game, net point wise, was the Chargers had a net point bias of 4 net points.
Yeah, it wasn't big.
And Houston had a turnover differential bias of 3.
Yes.
And we just combined 2 unlike things, but the bias plus score went to the Chargers at only 1.
And if you remember, last week, as I looked down the list of the games, I kept thinking to myself, and I think I even said it, I'm going with the bias on almost all of these games. I got to break the mold somewhere. I was looking for something that would get me to break the mold, and that's exactly what it was. I'm like, 1 point? I'm going the other way on this one. I'm going the other way on this one. I don't care if the Chargers are home. That's not a big enough bias. And I like the turnover thing. I'm going with Houston. And that ended up being the difference with me having that 1 extra win.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Look, the Steelers came on out to Levi Stadium, baby, to meet with the Niners. Again, second-string quarterback coming in for a superstar. Came out. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. However, Garoppolo was the leading passer. Raheem Mostert, 79 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, leading receiver at 81 yards. Good game. Good game is hard when you're my Niners turn the ball over like 5 times, but they turn the ball over 5 times, and you look up and the Steelers are only up by 6 points coming into the second half. And the Niners, the one thing I had been so excited about in their game was their run game, because it wasn't no getting down to the goal line, going into the spread, and you're not gonna have Garoppolo running around. So you're gonna actually turn around and hand that ball off and look for your line to get a push and look for your back to get a push. And I was seeing power coming from runners that I was a little unexpected from me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we got that game going down. And it took, I believe, just like I said about the Ravens, that I thought that the coach screwed the spirit up, okay? Juszczyk got the spirit back for the Niners, because Juszczyk, as your fullback, stretching out, catching passes, and then qualifying as a nominee for Angry Runs of the Week, where he's literally turning people upside down. I mean, he's just bulldozing through people. You can't look at that and not be inspired and say, okay, enough of this, getting hit and fumbled the ball and all of that stuff. We're going to get back to what we've been doing. And that's what they did. And I was like, man, you guys go get it, because I thought that was a great game. But it was 24-20. Pittsburgh did. They showed that they can attack you, and their second-string quarterback, they want to be competitive. They're still trading for people. They're still adding to their team. I think they can be competitive this year.
I think they can be competitive also, and they can do it with this quarterback that they have. Unfortunately, they came across the 49ers defense that, after years and years of getting number 1 picks up front, they are hard to run on. You cannot run on these boys, man. The strength of their defense is their run defense. And I can't say anything bad about the secondary if Juju is the high receiver with only 81 yards. So you got something going there on defense.
Defense is better. You know, two defenses that needed to improve. One, Kansas City, they look better. You know, some additions, some changes.
San Fran looks much better.
And San Fran looks a lot better.
They have all the right people in the right places now.
Corner now is Verrett or something like that.
Yeah.
And we still
they got some stuff they can shore up.
You know, Sherman's the man.
Yeah.
You know, no doubt about it. But yeah, that front 6, 7, yeah, them guys, you know. And
James Conner's no slouch.
No.
They pretty much shut him down.
Saints at Seahawks. Now, this was another one that I did not get, or the net points did not get correct. The Seattle Seahawks had a net point bias of 19, turnover differential bias of 1, so they had a bias plus score of 20, and they were home. And
this one surprised me. I'm
the
kicking
second
myself.
string quarterback comes in for the superstar.
Yeah.
In Seattle, much less.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself on this one now. I feel bad that I didn't believe in the Saints.
I don't. Hold up. Am I seeing Russell Wilson 406 yards passing? Holy macaroni. Tyler Lockett with 154 receiving.
So what happened?
33-27, man. I mean, you know, the Saints came in and they played good fundamental football, man.
Good fundamental football. 406 yards?
Yeah, they scored. They put up 33 points. I'm talking about the offense.
What good fundamental? Oh, okay.
All
right.
The defense might still be questionable, and that was Russell.
So that's what I did wrong. I didn't believe in the Saints offense. And I should have given them more credit. So I got to take that one.
Yeah, came in and got that done, man. Got that done. All right. Rams at Cleveland. We said that this was going to be a test for Cleveland. Jared had 269. Nick Chubb, 96 yards rushing. They need to be leaning on Nick Chubb big time. Brandon Cooks, 112. Cooks cooking them. But the Rams got it done 20-13.
Yeah, you said it. They need to lean on Nick Chubb, and they haven't been doing that. They're putting a lot on Baker's shoulders. And you got Beckham running his mouth, and you got all kind of stuff going on.
There's real questions now about Baker. Some of the limitations. They're starting to say they said coming out of college he was a one-read quarterback, and he could do that in college. We've talked about the ability, especially of these athletic quarterbacks, to get past their first read. This is what Lamar has to do. This is what a number of those guys. This is what Mahomes does. Let me tell you what really scared me when I knew what the net points were, right?
Right.
So I'm on Madden and I'm looking at the ratings, right?
Right.
And when I actually ran some simulation between Kansas City and the Ravens. And when I looked at the ratings for the two quarterbacks, Lamar versus Mahomes' awareness is like rated 97.
Right.
Lamar's is rated like 69.
Yeah. It should be higher than 69.
I'm like, oh, this ain't going to turn out.
The difference is profound, no doubt.
But I really still think I'm throwing that loss on the coaches. So say what you will. Long story short, we're up to Chicago before we leave, we also did say that for Cleveland and for the Rams, that defense that the Rams is coming at you with up the middle. That guy,
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald is
dude can't be stopped, man.
Remember last year when we talked about the Super Bowl show, right? Aaron Donald versus Tom Brady.
Right.
Aaron Donald, average time to the quarterback, 2.5 seconds. Tom Brady, average time to get rid of the ball, 2.5 seconds. So we knew that was going. But let's face it, in the NFL now, it sets a benchmark that all quarterbacks need to be aware of. Can you get through those reads and get rid of that ball in 2.5 seconds?
Before some unblockable dude
like
is bearing
Aaron
down
Donald or Khalil Mack.
Right.
And there's a few others, but those two guys are at the top of the game right now. and you don't get much time, or you're just going to really have to do a lot of match protect, keep a lot of people in.
I would probably put Myles Garrett from the Browns up there too, although he probably has less help than the other two. And the only reason, if somebody put a gun in my head and said, pick between Mack and Donald, the only reason I would take Donald is Donald's doing what he's doing from defensive tackle, where it's much easier to double team him.
Yeah.
Mack pretty much has one-on-one matchups unless he's getting chipped by the back or something.
Right.
So, yeah, he's a beast.
Beastly. Okay. And so that does take us to Chicago at Washington. It's almost laughable. Case Keenum at 332 yards passing. He's the passing leader. They lost 31-15. David Montgomery, 67 yards. Paul Richardson, leading rusher at 83. We talked about that Mac machine coming at him.
Yep.
Man, you know.
And when they know you got to throw the ball, it just makes it worse. It just makes it worse. Those are useless yards. Hopefully, if somebody was stuck with him on their fantasy team and had to start him, they got some numbers. But it's almost hollow if you can't throw for a couple of touchdowns.
It's the interesting thing. Case Keenum had the Eli Manning face a couple times, getting his helmet turned around. But I almost have to admire his ability to look really bad on the play, especially on the turnover down, like third down, and then we'll go back to the sideline and then be prepared to come back out again.
Oh, to take more.
And at some point,
he could have laid down anytime he wanted to.
Do you want to put Haskins in?
And they would have put Haskins in.
All you want to get Haskins? Do you want him to have post-traumatic Mac syndrome? So maybe it's best to leave him out so that he doesn't get scarred for life.
It's a shame.
Keenum can handle it. He's been through it already.
It's a shame, but the Washington, they need to change their name to something else.
Did I say? I didn't. Did I use the name?
No, you didn't.
Oh, good.
Because they need to change their name to something else.
Ben and Barry on Football will now refer to
the team from Washington, D.C.
Team from as the Washington. They ought to change their names.
So anyway, that team is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. They got Case Keenum because they thought he could help them win games. I don't believe that in their heart of hearts they really believed they were a playoff team. But I think they felt like if we have Case Keenum, we have enough other weapons offensively that we can win some games and really compete in the NFC East. It's not happening. And I don't know, they interviewed some of the guys on defense, and they're like, we don't know what's wrong. People are giving up. Right? A couple.
They're running back again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They were looking for guys to really.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to play at all. This is only his second year. Right. But now, when you start thinking about Haskins, he's not ready. He's not ready. I told people in the preseason, Daniel Jones is ready. Whenever they feel the need, he gonna come through. Haskins is not ready. And before the draft, people were saying, oh, Haskins is this, he's that, his arm is strong, Daniel Jones is nothing special, But again, when you're looking for a quarterback, especially a young guy, that you don't necessarily want to start right away, but you want him to be able to be ready if, in fact, you need him to start, Daniel Jones is it.
Well, I think
people forget Haskins only played 1 year.
When we go to the Madden awareness, especially after the new updates, I expect Daniel Jones' awareness to go up.
Absolutely.
And Haskins is going to kind of stay where he's at.
Absolutely.
Because, again, it's after that snap, that ability to decipher.
Yep.
There's before the snap, the ability to come up and take control of the offense, get your blocking straight, all that kind of stuff. Then it's after the snap, making those smart decisions.
Absolutely.
And so far, Daniel Jones looks good at that. All right. That's about it for last week. Any last words?
Danny Dimes is in the building.